Hello, welcome back to Space Engineers. In today's video, we're looking at another vehicle from the same series as a vehicle I showcased last Friday. And well, this one is called the Moto Rickshaw, which is this lovely thing that I'm currently standing on top of. So this is another small, rusted up, dusted up land vehicle to transport goods a short distance. And much like the previous vehicle, we do have 3 wheels once again, but unlike the previous vehicle, our cockpit is more centralized and our weight is going to be at the back of the vehicle, supported by 2 wheels rather than being centralized. This makes it much more stabler when driving around at high speeds, as well as when carrying heavy cargo. Anyway, we'll test out a bit later on using the same method as before, by using a medium cargo container filled up with cobalt ore and seeing how it handles. But for now, I'm going to press F10, find it in the spawn menu. There it is right there. In fact, I'm going to get rid of the motor at the front there. There we are. So there's one from the previous video. And here is the new one, which is 123 small blocks using the wasteland, contact, and automatons DLC packs. Got no information whatsoever once again. So simply gives a thumbs up, which I already have. Move around towards the very front, have a look around the outside, go through the controls, drive around empty, then we'll fill up the cargo container, then see how that handles. So my character can burrow off just a little bit. Off he goes. And this is what we get for the very front of the Moto Rickshaw. So at the very front, what will cause the spotlight to light up the darkness, where just below that is a grey corrugated steel armoured panel acting as your mudguard for your front wheel. Move around onto the side, here's the side of your wheel suspensions and has been connected all the way up to that light. Then round onto the side we see some red dusted steel blocks to make up the main bulk of this vehicle. Over here's your saddle cockpit to drive it around and to control everything about this vehicle, where below it is some more corrugated armoured panels just to hold the whole base together and create some structural integrity. Moving up just a little bit, behind the screen where we've got on our saddle cockpit, we then have a media player, so you can, when you're out on a long voyage, play some music so you don't get bored. Moving all the way down and looking towards the back here, here's the front of our trailer, we've got some yellow LCD screens with some letterbox right above it, barred windows in the middle acting like a cage-like design. Then move around onto the side, here we go, and that is what we get. So we see our wheel right there, behind there we can just about make out our batteries to give it a nice bit of power, and a letter block on the front, we then got some more armoured panels in the middle, then up there we got some small fake hooks, so when you load up cargo onto this vehicle, you can pretend to strap it all the way down to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. But much like the previous vehicle, we do have magnetic plates to actually handle that, that'll only be for your imagination. Anyway, towards the very back here we go, so we've got 2 brake lights, and a connector right at the very back to recharge it, and of course to load up your oxygen tank. Yes, this thing comes with an oxygen tank, which is featured right over there, so you can, if you want to, on long voyages, especially on oxygenless planets, refill up your bottle so you don't suffocate. Moving all the way up, looking all the way down, and there we are, so we've got our 4 magnetic plates. We see our wheel suspensions partially clipping all the way up, but we do not need to worry about them, they are non-collision, so when you drop something down, they will not interfere. But no, in the middle here, we see our connector, a conveyor, onto your oxygen tank, onto another conveyor, then it links across to your saddle cockpit. Yes, this will be the area that you load up cargo in, and I suppose if you really wanted to, you could put a chair on each of those individual magnetic plates, have an interior chair, so you can carry people on your adventure and transport them to wherever they need to go. Only moving all the way up and probably looking down at it, there we go, across to the saddle cockpits, and then across to the very front. Moving down underneath it, past this little section right here, there's your front wheel, then spinning the camera all the way around, and there we are, so we see a bunch of corrugated grey armoured panels, just linking everything together. There's your 3 wheel suspensions, then connected at the back, and of course all your steel blocks. There's not much to talk about under here, but with that, that's it for the outside of the Moto Rickshaw. Unlike the previous vehicle, it does look fantastic how it's been set up, and should be a lot of fun to play around with. But now what I'm going to do is grab hold of my character, come all the way up to it, here we go, and then hop inside. In a first-person view, this is all we can see all around us. Down to here is your meters per second, then on the screen in front of you is your media player. By pressing number 2, that's going to activate and show us the music that's going to be playing. So we just about make out what it is. It's called Into the Asteroid Field. So I'm simply going to switch that off and come to the third-person view. So bring up the HUD, these are the controls we get for this vehicle, very similar to the previous one, although some slight differences here and there. But no one's for your parking brakes to turn it on and off, so you don't need to press P, just in case you don't have that set up or don't want that set up in the cockpit. Number 2 is then for your media player, but we've already gone through that. Number 3 is then for your connector at the back to lock and unlock it. Number 4 is for your batteries to auto recharge. 5 and 6 for your wheels, we do not need to touch them, they are perfectly adequate how they've been set up by default. And then number 7 for your oxygen tank to stockpile on and off. Number 9 is then your most important button on this vehicle, which is your magnetic plates at the back here. On to tab number 2, more control for your wheels, but like I said, we don't need to touch them. Then on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, we've got nothing else. So now it's time to drive around while empty, then load up some cargo. So here we go, all the way forward on Pertam. And if you are interested, I am using a mod to remove the atmospheric effects from Pertam, which is why it's so squeaky clean all around here. But we've got this lovely ocean blue sky. And while it is with the default Space Engineer skybox, but if I was using a mod, if I was using a custom skybox, it would be displaying quite spectacularly in the sky. But no, here we come all the way across, and we are capping out at about 25 meters per second, which is perfectly fine for a transport vehicle, and a little bit faster it feels compared to the previous one. Now when we load this up with cargo, it will be a little bit slower, but it will be a darn sight faster than the cargo rickshaw in the previous video. And we come to a stop here and actually doing a turn. Here we go. Well, this is very, very odd. As you see there, it will tip over, do a sharp turn, but the way it does turn, it kind of snaps into place. It doesn't naturally turn around in a perfect circle. It sort of just snaps every now and again and pings itself around, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue if you are to load it up with cargo, which is what I'm going to do right now. So hopping out of this, come around towards the very back. What I've got to do now is put down a medium cargo container, and I want to make sure this is slightly towards the front of the vehicle. If you put it towards the back and load up with heavy cargo, of course it's naturally going to tip over. Trying to get it close as I can to the front. That'll do quite nicely, putting it down and then locking it in place. There we go. And now we're going to watch the vehicle drop all the way down as they fill up with a bunch more cobalt ore. So into here, cobalt ore, spawning it in, and there we go, the vehicle drops all the way down. But unlike the previous vehicle, we don't need to actually fiddle the wheels. This is actually perfectly fine carrying that weight. So hopping into this, and then putting the camera back to how it was, is going to be a bit awkward due to the way the cargo container has been positioned, so it is going to fight the camera. But no, undoing that, moving forwards, here we go. And well, unlike the previous vehicle, this thing can actually get a move on. This thing will go up to about 15 meters per second, which is what we're at right now, and it gets there in a very respectable amount of time. I mean, you can use this for long distance transporting, then use the cargo rickshaw for very short distance transporting, like say in a base, warehouse to warehouse, base to warehouse, and all of that, while using this to transport from base to base on reasonably long distances. Now, of course, there are much more efficient ways of transporting goods from one place to another. Using the actual cargo ship would be much more better than this. But no, if you do want to have a change of flavour, if you want to have something slightly different for roleplay purposes, or just a change in general, then these types of vehicles are perfectly fine, and just a bit of fun to use. So here we come all the way down, creeping up to about 20 meters per second, 24, 25, 26, and there we are. And unlike the previous vehicle, this thing seems to be very, very stable while carrying around the heavy cargo, which is jolly good stuff. But with that, that's pretty much it for this vehicle. What you can do with it, what it has to offer. So now it's time to destroy it by removing the speed limit, and while sending it to its destruction. And here we go, one more time. This should end very, very quickly. Due to the fact, if we do get up to speed, what I found in my testing was the wheels get jammed up into the trailer, and then it just goes and blows up. Third person view looking around here. Oh, there we go. And now we're just going to spin around. We're upside down. And we self-righted. How about that? There is no JavaScript on here, so you can't use mouse controls with this thing. That thing just self-righted it by itself, which is, well, unexpected. Here we go one more time. It is having a little bit of problems going above 30 meters per second. Actually keeping it stable in the first-person view. 45. We're losing it. I'm losing it. And there we are one more time, flipping all the way over. And once it comes to a stop, there we are. Now I can press number 9, undo the cargo, and that's that for this vehicle. But as it stands, it's just a fantastic looking vehicle. It's a bit of fun to play around with, and just highly recommend downloading it and checking it out yourself. It's all set up by default to be perfectly fine and usable in survival mode, unless of course you were to play around with it like how I'm doing right now. And of course you will have some issues. I'm actually surprised it hasn't blown up yet. I'm actually surprised blocks haven't blown up yet. Not sure what's going on with that. Block structuring is turned on in this world. But no, that's pretty much it for the Moto Rickshaw. Like I said, it's a fantastic looking vehicle, and you can get a lot of fun out of it in your world. So be linked to a description below to still play around yourself. Highly recommend you do, as well as link to the mod I'm using to remove the atmospheric effects from Pertam, to give it that squeaky clean look. I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.